Welcome back to the crochet tutorial with Cozy Rosie UK, and today I'm going to be sharing with you how to make this bobbly basket. Now this basket is a little bit different because you have the choice of using two different bases. Excuse my ends. You can either opt to use one of these heavy duty felt bases, or you can crochet your own base by popping two together that will give you the same sized base, believe it or not. Now before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and of course the notification bell so you never miss out another one of my crochet patterns or tutorials again. So the yarn that I've used for this beautiful basket was graciously given to me by my husband, so I've had to use it, but it is unfortunately discontinued. So the yarn that I used was Loops and Threads Meandering Mini Serpentine. And this is, I think, Michael's own brand, and my husband bought it for me while he was in the US many years ago, and it sat on my shelf without a job to do. So I've used it up for this project, and I had 3 packs of these yarns. So this is the colorway that was chosen on my Instagram account to go with this felt base, and this was the alternative, but I've just kind of left this one still to use. I've got another color base to use with this one, and as you can see it comes in 4 different shades. This was the blue color, and this color I believe is the bright colors, and I'm going to be using that with this bright pink stamped or pre-holed felt. Now this is a 4-inch circle, and I've got this from Joe's Toes. If you're not familiar with them, they are absolutely amazing and sell loads of different shaped felt bases, including slipper soles, circular bases for coasters, and in this case a basket. They've also just launched an oval shape, which you might be seeing on this channel very soon, because I am absolutely in love with these. Now I don't know if you can see, but this side is a little bit rougher than that side. So this is going to be the right side of our project. So that's going to be the base. So we've got the lovely smooth felt on the outside and the slightly rougher felt on the inside. And you can see that the construction of this basket is made extra strong as we work the right side, and then we're going to tuck in the same amount of fabric to give it a nice sturdy basket look. I'm going to be using 3 of these colours, and I can't decide which ones yet. I really like that yellow, so I might swap the yellow out for that one. And I'm going to be showing you how to crochet the base using some leftover yarn from this colourway. Now hook wise, you are going to need, if you're using a felt base, you're going to need a smaller hook to go through the holes that are already pre-marked in this felt base. So I'm going to be using a 3mm hook, and I do have a tulip one of these somewhere, but I can't find it for the video because I can't quite get the other hook size we need, which is a 4.5mm hook. So this yarn is a worsted size for medium yarn, and the recommended hook size is 5.5, and I'm going down to a 4.5mm hook to keep my stitches extra tight. And as you can see, I'm working these puff stitches in, it's not really a bobbly basket, it's a puff basket, but we're going to be working these stitches in different colours. I'm going to show you how to do it. You can of course just work it all in one colour if you want to. On top of that, you're going to need a needle, a pair of scissors, because we are going to be changing colours, and we need to sew in the last chain on our felt base as well. We're going to start by me showing you how to add on the surface crochet to cover this base and work around it. If you're going to be crocheting your own base, you can skip to the chapter that is marked crochet base, and I'll meet you there to make 2 of these. Gather those materials, go on to which base you are using, and I'll meet you there to start our baskets. So I have decided my 3 colours that I'm going to be using with this really nicely bright colourful basket, and whichever colour you work with first becomes colour A. So you're going to work either your base onto your felt or your base of your bag in colour A. So I'm just going to move these around. So we've got A, B and C. So with your felt base, You can see that one side is rougher than the other, and we want the rough side facing us because that's, no we don't. And we want the smoother side of the felt facing us because this is going to be on the outside of our project. And you can see that we've got these lovely holes already pre-stamped for us. And I'm just going to start by inserting my hook through any one of those holes and grabbing colour A. Just going to place that over the hook with a reasonably sized tail, and simply, it's going to be a little bit difficult to get it through the first one because obviously it's a bigger yarn than the hook wants, and then bring that loop up so that it reaches over to that next hole. I'm going to drop my tail and insert my hook into the next hole, yarning over and bringing it through, ready to bring through the loop that we've just created and making sure that our next loop comes to the next hole. So this needs to be done quite a relaxed fashion. We're not rushing this. We're simply surface crocheting is effectively what we are doing, and making sure that our loop is big enough that it's not going to cause any tension on our basket. Oh, not going to cause any tension on the base of our basket. So we're bringing those loops up all the way through and up, making sure they're going to reach over to that next hole. We're going to continue to work this surface crochet all the way around our base until we have come to our last hole, our pre-cut hole. So continue around and I'll meet you when you've reached all the way over here. Don't complete that last loop because I'm going to show you how to do it to get a seamless start. So once you've worked all the way around and we have reached our final loop, I'm going to grab my scissors and cut off a length and simply use my hook to bring that loop all the way through. It's a bit like doing the invisible join, but we're doing it for surface crochet. So with your yarn needle, pop that yarn onto your needle, and we're simply going to make a fake stitch. So I'm going to, come underneath both loops of that first surface crochet that we made when we joined, and then we're going to come underneath the next, and it creates a fake look of finishing. And we simply, I don't know if you can see this close, we've got the hole at the back here. So I'm going to insert through the middle and find that hole and come all the way through. So that means that you get a complete circle. We don't have a complete circle on this end, so I'm simply just going to tie the ends loosely together. And then we have these two ends on, this is the right side, this is the wrong side. So this will be the base that's on the table, and this will be hidden inside the basket. We can weave those in later. So once you've completed this section, you can go on to round one of your basket. If you don't have access to one of those beautiful felt bases, don't worry, you can still make this pattern. We are simply going to make 2 rounds of crochet fabric and join them together to create our own base. We're going to be using our 4.5mm hook and your colour A. Now this is not my colour A, but this is just for tutorial purposes only. So obviously I've already got one of the bases finished, so I'm going to make my second one with you. So you need to make 2. I'm going to make one with you now. I'm going to start by making a slip knot and placing that onto my 4.5mm hook. We are simply making a flat circle that we are going to join together. So we begin by making a chain of 4. We then slip stitch to that first chain that we made, just going underneath one of those loops, and slip stitch through and straight through the loop on your hook to make a circle. We need to find the middle of that circle, not where we've just joined, where that top hole is, but into that hole underneath. We're going to make a chain of 1 before making 8 half double crochets into the middle of our ring, and I'm going to work over my end at the same time. So I've yarned over, inserting into the middle of the ring, not where we joined, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. I'm going to make a further 7 half double crochets to give us a total of 8 for round 1 of making our base. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Once you have those 8 half double crochets, we're going to slip stitch to the first half double crochet that we made, not into our chain 1, but into that first, so not into that chain 1, but into that first half double crochet that we made. We're just going to slip stitch to join. You can then pull, if you've worked over your tail, you can pull your tail to close that hole in the middle or weave it in afterwards to make it extra secure. Going into round 2, we start with a chain of 1. This does not count as a stitch, and we are going to be working 2 half double crochets into each stitch around. So we yarn over and insert into where we've just joined to work 1, and then yarn over to work number 2 into the same place where we just worked that first one. So you have 2 stitches coming out of that first one. We're going to work 2 half double crochets into each stitch around, making sure that you've placed 2 into each stitch. So that's 1 and 2. I'm just going to continue to repeat that all the way around to the end of this round, where we're going to join again. Once you've worked all the way around, you have to ignore your slip stitch, which is that little stitch there, and we're going to join to the top of that first half double crochet that we made. Let's find the stitch and slip stitch to join. At the end of round 2, you should have a total stitch count of 16 half double crochets. Going into round 3, we begin with that chain of 1. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into the same stitch as our chain 1, and then we're going to follow on by working 2 half double crochets into the next. That's number 2. So the repeat around is working 1 half double crochet into that first stitch, followed by 2 half double crochets into the next. So we're increasing 1 half double crochet in every other stitch. So we work 1 and then we work 2 into the next. Continue to repeat that around and I'll meet you at the end of round 3. You should be ending your round working 2 half double crochets into that last stitch. You've got your little slip stitch there. We're going to ignore that and join to the top of that first half double crochet that we made to join our round. At the end of round 3, you should have 24 half double crochets, and we're going to go straight into round 4, where we start with a chain of 1. We're going to work 2 half double crochets into the same stitch as our chain 1. That's 1 and 2, and then we're going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So 1 half double crochet into the next, and 1 half double crochet into the next again. We then repeat this, working 2 half double crochets into the next stitch before working 1 half double crochet into each of the next 2. We're going to repeat this all the way around. So we're working 2 half double crochets into the next, followed by 1 half double crochet into each of the next 2. Continue that around and I'll meet you at the end of round 4. You should end round 4 by working your single 1 half double crochet into each of the next 2. Once again, we're going to skip that slip stitch that we made to join our round, and we're joining to the first half double crochet that we made. At the end of round 4, you should have a total of 32 half double crochets. Going into round 5, we begin with a chain of 1. We are then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches before working our increase. So we're working 1 half double crochet into each of the next 3. So this is number 3. And then we work our 2 half double crochets into the next. That's 1 and 2. So we're going to repeat this around, working 1 half double crochet into each of the next 3. So that's 2 and 3. We then work 2 half double crochets into the next. We're going to continue to repeat that all the way around and then join. But I just want to point out, I know this looks holy, but when you put them together, they don't look anywhere near as holy, and they are nice and squishy to give you a great base for your project. So continue to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 3, followed by working 2 half double crochets into the next, and I'll meet you at the end of round 5. So at the end of row 5, we're again skipping that slip stitch from the previous round and joining to the top of that first half double crochet of round 5, and you should have a stitch count of 40 half double crochets. We're going to work our final round, which is round 6, together, but we're not going to fasten off our second base. We're going to continue on to join these bases after round 6. So you can fasten off after round 6 on your first base, but then on your second one, we're going to join them. So for round 6, we start with a chain of 1. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 4. So that's number 2, 3, and 4. We are then going to work 2 half double crochets into the next, and 2. We're going to repeat this around, working 1 half double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches before working our increase stitch all the way around. So we work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 4 before working 2 half double crochets into the next. Continue around and I'll meet you at the end of round 6. And remember, if you're on your second base, we're going to continue on to join them together so we can continue to make our basket. At the end of round 6, once again, we're skipping that slip stitch and joining to the top of that first half double crochet that we made. And we should have a stitch count of 48. And it's really important that you have 48 because that's the number we need for round 2 of our basket. To join these 2 panels together, you're going to make sure that you have your wrong side, so your tail's facing, and we're simply going to place them together. I'm going to pop where I fastened off on this one here, and we are going to start just by making a chain of 1, and I'm picking up my other base and just placing those together. I'm going to find the tail because that's just the way I like to do it. And we are going to simply work through both layers. So I'm inserting my hook through the first stitch and then the equivalent stitch on the other side, making sure I pick up all of that stitch and making a single crochet to join. And we're going to repeat that, working through 1 stitch of the front base and 1 into the back. I'm also weaving my end as I go, working a single crochet to join them. You can see where you've worked, so just keep an eye that you're not missing any stitches. You might need to rearrange them as you go, so we can single crochet through 1 layer and through the next. And we're just going to repeat this all the way around, working through each of the stitches to join, and it's going to give us a nice edge that we can continue on to work the remainder of our basket onto. So continue to work around, joining your two bases together, making sure they are, of course, right side out, wrong side together. And I'll meet you once you've worked all the way around so we can continue on and join those that are making the felt basket. We're going to be joining them at round 2. Once you've finished joining all the way around with your single crochets, joining those two bases together, double check you've got your stitch count of 48 because you'll need that to go on to round 2 of the basket. To join our round, we're simply going to make a slip stitch into that first single crochet that we joined, and we are ready to go on to round 2 of the basket because you already worked round 1 by joining these bases together. And just for size, you can see that that's added more than enough for us to reach the same size as the basket base. I'll see you at round 2 to continue on with your basket. So once you have fastened your ends together, you're ready to start working onto your felt base. Now we're going to work round 1 into the chain side of our basket, not this side, but you can see that when you've worked the first round, it brings us up and over the basket and you can't see where you've joined. So for the remainder of our basket, we are switching to our 4.5mm hook, and we're going to have the chain side of our basket facing us. Doesn't matter where you're going to join, we're just going to place our hook underneath one of these chains and grab colour A, placing it over your hook and bringing it through. And I'm just going to make, not split my yarn, just going to make a small chain 1 just to secure that. And then we are ready to continue on to round 1. Now round 1 is only worked onto the felt base. If you've made your other base, we're going to join us for round 2. Once we've made our chain of 1, we're going to work 2 half double crochets into each chain around. So we're yarning over and inserting, yarning over to bring our loop back up, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and repeating that, working a second half double crochet into the same place. So we've yarned over, insert, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. You can work over your end as well if you want to. I'm trying to make this look neater for you, because then we can yarn over, ready to work into the next one. So we're only placing 2 half double crochets into each of these chains or the surface crochet around. So that's 2. So we yarn over, insert into the next, bring our loop up, pull through all 3 loops. Out is a bit fiddly and my yarn is splitting, which is always fun. So then we can go into the next one, working a further 2 half double crochets. So that's 1 and 2, and we're just going to repeat this all the way around, working 2 half double crochets into each of the surface crochets around. Continue on working those 2 half double crochets into each around, and I will meet you at the end of round 1 of our basket. So at the end of round 1, you should have a stitch count of 48 half double crochets, working 2 half double crochets into each of those surface crochets around, and we are simply joining to the first half double crochet that we made with a slip stitch to join that round. And we are now welcoming back those that have made their bases ready to go on to round 2, and this is for both option 1 with your felt base and for option 2 with your crocheted base. We are continuing on with our 4.5mm hook from here on out, and let's go straight into round 2. It's a nice easy one. We're making a chain of 1, and we are simply working 1 single crochet into each stitch around, including, she says, including into that first stitch where we just made our chain 1. So we're simply working one single crochet into each stitch around. If you're working with your felt base, this is going to feel a little bit tricky for a couple of rounds, and then it gets a lot easier. So continue around working one single crochet into each stitch to maintain that stitch count of 48, and this time it will be single crochets, and I will meet you at the end of round 2. So once you've worked those single crochets all the way around, we are simply going to join to that first stitch of the round with a slip stitch to join. Going into round 3, we're going to change to colour B to work our first puff stitch. So to change colour, I'm simply just going to place it over the hook and bring it through, and that will act like our first. And then once you've brought it through, we're just going to make a chain of 1. Again, this chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and we're going to be working our first puff stitch into the stitch that we have joined, which you can see is just there. I'll have to hold it straight, look a bit easier. Now I'm going to be working my puff stitches in colour B and my other stitches in this round in colour A. So we change colour in the stitch before to minimise the obvious colour change. Of course, it's up to you how big you make your puff stitches. I'm going to be doing 4 yarn overs. So to do that, I start by yarning over with colour B, and I'm inserting my hook into where we've slip stitched. We yarn over, bring a loop up, and we do that 4 times. So that was number 1. Yarn over, insert back into the same stitch. For number 2, yarn over, reinsert. For number 3, yarn over, reinsert. For number 4. Now before we yarn over and complete this stitch in colour B, I'm actually going to drop colour B and pick up colour A and yarn over and complete the pull through all 9 loops with colour A. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So we're going to work our first stitch as normal in colour A, working 1 half double crochet, and then we begin the next stitch in colour A, completing it with colour B, ready for our next puff stitch. So we yarn over, insert, bring that loop up. Before you yarn over in colour A, I'm going to drop colour A, pick up colour B and yarn over with that and pull through with colour B. So what this gives us is there's the top of our puff stitch in colour B, colour A, and we're ready to work our puff stitch in colour B into the next stitch. So we yarn over, insert, bring that loop up 4 times. So that's number 1, 2, 3 and 4. I got all of that. Nope. Do that last one again, I think, just to be, it's quicker than trying to correct it. There we are. And of course we drop colour B, ready to pick up colour A. We yarn over and pull through all the loops with colour A. Then we can work our next half double crochet in colour A. We begin the next half double crochet into the next stitch in colour A. So once we've brought that loop up, we drop colour A, picking up colour B and pull through to complete the stitch. So from the wrong side, you don't have to carry the yarn because this is going to be the right side of our pattern here. So when you finish your basket, this is what you will see, and all of that will be hidden. So you don't need to worry too much about working over your ends or anything like that. So the next stitch to work is, of course, our puff stitch into the next stitch. So we start with our yarn over and do that 4 times, 2, 3 and 4. And then we complete the stitch with colour A. course, this is completely optional. You can work your puff stitches in colour A as well if you want to. I just think it looks really nice having them stand out. We can then work our half double crochets in colour A, remembering to change back to colour B to complete that second half double crochet. As we continue around, you'll see that this round is much more further out than our previous one, and we'll begin to flip up so that we have the right side of our felt showing and everything else is going to be hidden on the inside. We're going to continue to repeat this around, working our puff stitch in colour B before changing to colour A for 2 half double crochets. So the next stitch for me is my puff stitch in colour B, worked into the next stitch. That's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Change to colour A. Then I work my half double crochet. And the next half double crochet, I'm going to stop once I've pulled my loop up and change back to colour B. Ready for my next puff stitch. So continue to repeat that all the way around. Your last 2 stitches should be in colour A, working your final 2 half double crochets. So continue around and I'll meet you at the end of this round. So once you have worked all the way around, ending with your 2 final half double crochets in colour A, you will have 16 of your puff stitches and you'll have 32 half double crochets, and we simply join to the top of our first puff stitch where we joined in colour B with a slip stitch. And I did not go through the puff there. There we are. Going into round 4, we're continuing with colour A. We're going to make a chain of 1 and then we are working 1 single crochet into the top of each stitch around. So we're working to the top of our puff stitch and into each of the next 2 half double crochets. So into our puff stitch and then into each of our half double crochets. Continue around working 1 single crochet into the top of each stitch, and I will see you at the end of round 4. So at the end of round 4, you're going to still have a stitch count of 48 single crochets. You should be able to flip your basket the right way over your felt base. If it's looking a little bit tight, because mine's a bit curved at the moment, please don't worry. Remember that crochet does stretch. If we go any bigger, it will just be too loose and it won't be a very supportive basket. For round 5, we're going to start with colour A. That's going to look confusing now, so let me do that for you. Just going to finish round 4 by slip stitching into that first single crochet that we joined, and then we are ready, of course, to go into round 5, and we're continuing with A to begin. We make our chain of 1 and we're going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So we yarn over and insert for number 1 into the same stitch as our chain 1, and then we work a second, but we're going to change back to colour B in that final part. Where has colour B gone? There it is. So we're going to finish that second half double crochet in colour B, ready to work our next puff stitch. And we're going to work our puff stitch in colour B the same way we did for the previous round of puff stitches. So once we've done all our yarn overs, we can then pick up colour A and complete our puff stitch in colour A. So this time we are working 1 half double crochet in colour A, followed by a second, changing back to colour B to complete that second half double crochet, and then we are ready to work our puff stitch into the next. 2, 3 and 4. Remember, we complete our puff stitch with colour A, and you can see that this offsets our puff stitches beautifully. So we're going to continue to repeat that around. You will end this round on a puff stitch in colour B, but obviously you'll need to change back to colour A. So continue around and I'll meet you for our last puff stitch where we'll be changing back to colour A. So I have just worked my final puff stitch and I've changed back to colour A, ready to join at the end of round 5 with a slip stitch to that first half double crochet that we made. So at the end of round 5 you will still have 16 puff stitches and 32 half double crochets. For round 6 we begin with a chain of 1, and in this round we're working 1 half double crochet into each stitch around. Don't fasten off colour B just yet, we're not quite done with it. So we are working 1 half double crochet into the top of our half doubles from the previous round, and of course into the top of our puff stitch. So continue around working 1 half double crochet into the top of each stitch, and I will meet you at the end of round 6. So once you've worked all the way around, placing 1 half double crochet into each stitch around, we are going to slip stitch to join to the first half double crochet that we made, but we need to change to colour B. So I'm just going to pick up colour B and do my slip stitch in colour B. So we don't lose a stitch, there's our final stitch, and there's where we've joined. For round 7, so at the end of round 6 you will have 48 half double crochets, and round 7 is simply a repeat of round 6 using colour B. So we're doing a chain of 1 and working 1 half double crochet into each stitch around. Continue on working 1 half double crochet into each stitch, and I'll meet you at the end of round 7, and we're going to be continuing on with colour B. I'll see you shortly. So I'm just working my final half double crochet in colour B, and we're going to slip stitch to join, but instead of slip stitching with colour B, I'm going to join on colour C. I'm just going to place it over my hook and complete that slip stitch with colour C and tighten that one there. So from rounds 8 to 11, we're going to be repeating rounds 3 to 6 using colour B and your colour C. Just as you can use the timestamps below, just remember that when I'm talking about colour A, I now mean colour B. When I'm talking about colour B, I'm now talking about colour C. And we're going to repeat that. We're just going to repeat those rounds once again. So I'm going to go through the first couple of stitches with you. We're doing the same technique by working our puff stitch in that first stitch that we just joined to, but this time we are working with colour C instead of colour B. And of course we change back to colour B to complete that puff stitch before working a half double crochet into each of the next 2 in colour B. But of course this time we're changing back to colour C to work that next puff stitch. And then of course reverting back to colour B to work those half double crochets. So continue to repeat rounds 3 to 6 working with colours B and C, and I will meet you for round 12. So at the end of round 11 you should be back to have completed that half double crochet row, this time in colour B. I am going to not work the next repeat because this basket is absolutely perfect for Easter, so I don't want to work any further in these colours. I'm going to explain what you would do next. And then I'm going to show you how to work the inside of the basket. So for round 12, you're going to repeat round 6 with colour C, and then we're going to continue on to repeat rounds 3 to 6 working colour C with colour A for our puff stitches. So work round 12 in colour C, then work rounds 13 to 16, repeating rounds 3 to 6 for a final time, and you should end with colour C, and that's where I'm going to meet you. And then for round 17, you would actually continue working in colour C. So imagine that I am working with colour C. I'm going to change back to colour B because I think this is just the most gorgeous basket for Easter. And I know just who might receive it. So I'm now working round 17, but I'm working with colour B. You would be continuing with colour C if you've worked rounds 13 to 16. So you would slip stitch to join in the colour that you're continuing to work in, and the section that you'd be working after round 17 is we're working the inside of our basket. This, as you can see, without the inside, it's not very stable, and this really gives your basket a much more solid look so that it can actually stand up nice and tall and proud on its own. And in the case of this little basket, it's just going to help those puff stitches stand out. So we are working this top round here, which will be round 17 if you have continued on to work those additional rounds. We'd begin with a chain of 1. And we're actually working into the back loop only for this round. We're still carrying on working those half double crochets, but this time we're just working into the back loop. So normally go underneath the stitch, kind of through that hole, but instead we're going to push through the middle of the stitch, and it will just pick up the back loop of that stitch. And we're working a normal half double crochet, but we're working just into the back loop only, and that helps create a really neat fold for the next section or the inside of our basket. So you can see that it almost makes those stitches fold in on themselves, and that's exactly what we want it to do. So continue around working 1 half double crochet into the back loop only, and I'll meet you at the end of round 17. So once you have worked around, working 1 half double crochet into each stitch around, we're then going to slip stitch to that first half double crochet that we made, and then we are ready to go on to round 18. We're going to make a chain of 1, and we're actually going to skip this stitch underneath our chain 1 this time, working 1 half double crochet into the next. So we skip the stitch underneath our slip stitch, and then we're going to work 1 half double crochet into each stitch around. This is going to reduce our stitch count down from 48 to 47, which will allow the inside of our basket to comfortably sit inside. Continue around working 1 half double crochet into each stitch, and I'll meet you at the end of round 18. So once you've worked all the way around for round 18, you should have a total stitch count of 47. We're just going to slip stitch to join, and then for rounds 19 to 21 we're going to work a further 3 rounds, all the same. We begin with our chain of 1, and then we work 1 half double crochet into each stitch around. Your stitch count will be maintained at 47 half double crochets. Once you've worked those 3 rounds, you will then change to your next main colour that you worked previously. If I show you with this one, we're continuing with colour C. So you have 4 rounds after your back loop only round in colour C, which matches up with this side. And then we're going to work 4 rounds, the same as round 19, working 1/2 double crochet into each stitch around. Finally, you're going to work those last few rounds in colour A, just 4 rounds, and then you are ready to fasten off. Weave your ends in and simply fold where you've worked that back loop round to help stabilise your basket, and you're ready to fill it with gifts or crochet hooks. This is my new crochet hook stand. I'm really pleased with how these colours are turning out, and I think it's going to be nice to have a pair of them in different sizes and different heights. What I do like is as you work your inside for your basket, it will push these rows out, make your puff stitches stand out more than ever, and they really do look like eggs in these colours, don't they? Thank you as always for joining me for this tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed it. I can't wait to see your finished baskets, and I will see you in the next video.